In this video, we're going to show how to use the data formatting options. Now, data formatting, that is for when you want to change the raw data in your database and apply some kind of formatting to it for how it gets output into the documents. So a couple quick examples would be, say if you want your Boolean values instead of to be 0 and 1 to say true, false, yes, no, on, off, or so on. Or if you want to change your date outputs from, number slash number slash number to the actual date name or month name, January 2nd, and leave off the year. Or for changing currencies, to not show decimal places or to change the currency code. So that is all set up in the database definitions and your preferences. And these formatting strings, you can apply them globally or at the individual global and field line item level. And the formatting is always database specific for global and line item fields, or you can have a global format that applies across all database definitions, all fields, and that is in this formatting tab, global data formats. So only set the formatting here when you want it to apply to absolutely everything everywhere. And you'll see one entry for every database data type. So you can just page through. You got Boolean, currency, percentage, numerics, and so on. So I'm not going to set anything in the global settings, but you can just get some ideas of options you can select from instead of typing them in. So say if we always want Booleans to say true, false across everything everywhere, we just set that. I'm just going to leave that off for now. Same thing for everything else. Currency, you can just get some general ideas of a few currency strings. And we'll show this later too, but for currencies and numerics, you can have 3 different types of formatting, all kind of combined together in one string. So you have, what do you want the output to look like for a positive number? What do you want the output to look like for a negative number? And what do you want the output to look like for a 0 value? And we'll show examples of this in the other screens, but this is just the global screen. Okay, so that's the global screen. Now in the line item databases, I'm going to clone a database. Just take the basic product sales database, clone a copy, make a custom database. And we usually just clone the stock databases if we're going to make modifications to them, just to keep our stock databases pristine. Now, you'll also want to look at the Wizard's line item database manual. It should be on your desktop with a little icon that says Wizard line item database manual, or you can just open it from this line item manual button. And you'll want to scroll down. We've already got it set here. You'll want to scroll down to the chapter How to Format Data for Output. And this will basically give you a description of what we're covering in the video, but there's a link down here for a page on Microsoft's website. Now, all these formatting fields are actual Microsoft Office formats. So anything you type into our formatting fields, you can apply to what you see here on Microsoft's description of their format functions, because our wizard actually calls Microsoft's formatting functions using their formatting strings. So, for example, dates and your date time data types can make use of these date symbols. So say if you want your output to say January 20th, well, we would do MMMM space D, because that will change our date times to be the full month name followed by the number of the day. And the same thing with time symbols. We can set formatting strings for times. And this page will have some descriptions of what I mentioned earlier, how to set a formatting string for a positive value, a negative value, and a zero value for numerics and currencies. And you can even use these words, short date, long date, as your formatting strings. You can use for your Boolean data types in the wizard, you can use these strings, yes, no, true, false, and we have these already predefined to make it easier for you in the wizard. And special case characters that you can use within formatting strings. So anything you want to Google online about how to use Microsoft's formatting strings, anything you find will be applicable to what we're showing you in the wizard. Alrighty, so let's go and edit our database definition. Go into the global fields. And let's pick a total amount. And you'll see the format. Now, if nothing's in the format, the wizard will just use its default formatting strings. So for a currency data type, it'll be $ followed by the number and 2 decimal places. Or if you've selected an international currency in your project, it will use the international currency code, say like a euro symbol or so on. Now, if you override that, now I can click this drop down to get some suggestions. And say if I click this, that will output any positive numbers in this format, a $, a comma, 2 decimal places. If I have a negative value, it will, instead of a negative sign, it's going to display the value with parentheses. And if you have a 0 value, it's going to actually output the word 0 into our document. We can use international currency codes, say the euro symbol. I can use the word currency, and that's one of Microsoft's formatting values, just to do a default currency. I can select a lot of international currency codes. So you have a whole range of international options. And again, these are just examples you can use. You can use any of these and just retype the formatting string. Now you'll see slashes. Now slashes are used as escape characters because there are quite a few individual characters that are special case modifiers. So if you put a slash in front of all those, that just ensures that Microsoft isn't going to interpret a single character as a code and then your output doesn't look correct. So when in doubt, just put escape characters. I think there's maybe 5, 6, 10 actual characters that are special use that need to be escaped. So you don't have to escape everything, but it doesn't hurt and it takes any doubt out. I can use the Get Suggestions button. Now when I click the Get Suggestions button, it's actually going to search every database in the system. It's going to search all of our examples, all of our sample proposals, any custom databases you've created, and it's going to pull out every formatting string it finds for the currency data type anywhere. So you can see a list of actual formatting strings that have been used. So what's this one here? No charge. So what this would do is you will use standard currency for a positive value. No change for a negative. So we have 2 semicolons with nothing between them. That means don't do anything special for a negative number. It's just going to have a negative sign in front of it. But for a 0 value, it's going to put the words no charge. So, maybe you have a type of line item database for your product sales or service sales where if a value is 0, you don't want the number 0 in the output, you actually want the word no charge. This is how you can do something like that. So actually, let's just leave that default, and okay. Let's cancel out of that. Now let's go into our category fields. And for line item weight, this is the calculated weight on an order. So there's no formatting, and it's just a straight up numeric. So what if we want to do something like all of our weights are always going to be in pounds, and we want the actual letter LBS, pounds. And we're going to use the escape. So this would cause pounds to be LBS to be output, and we'll show this in use, and up to 2 decimal places. Let's just go 1 decimal place on the calculated line item amount. Now, as we scroll up and down all of our fields, you can actually see custom formatting, so you can have a quick glance at all your custom formatting. And for the amount, let's do NC for no charge. And let's go do a test database output, and you can see this in use. All right, we've got our custom database selected. Go and add some line items. And remember, our calculated weight is going to have the custom formatting. The individual line item weights are actually hidden, so our formatting doesn't really matter. And we're not going to charge anything on this one. Okay, so And you can see the actual formatting gets applied on the screen here as well. So you can see our LBS, and for our zero amount column here, because we're charging $0 on this line item, it comes out as NC, no charge. And let's do a quick test and preview. All right, so you can see NC output here. And the weights actually aren't being output because those are hidden fields. So actually we can go back and add those so we can see those in the output. All right, so our line item weight, yeah, we can see that's a hidden field. So let's just edit that and make that a visible field. And real quick, we'll go over some other data types. So I'm going to add a global field. Now, for every data type, you can have different kinds of formatting. So a string, normally a string, that's not as common to have custom formatting. Integers, numerics, currencies, all kind of work the same way. Anything that's numeric can use that 3-part positive, negative, 0 type formatting. Percentages, usually your formatting on a percentage is going to kind of change how many decimal places you want to see. Alphanumerics, same thing, it's treated like a string. Booleans, your common formatting is going to be either true, false, yes, no, on, off, or 0, 1. An increment data type, that's just a numeric. So if you're using it for rolling date times or rolling cost roll-ups, you might set a custom format for a date or a currency. Date time, it gets a little more complicated. You can have lots of different types of formatting on date times. You can actually put in these words. So remember, these are the same words I showed you in that Microsoft web page. Or custom formatting rules. Say if we want our date to only show the year, well, why? What if we wanted to say January 20th? That's where we would use MMMM, 4 M's in a day. So this is how you apply formatting rules to a date time field. Drop-down lists, those really aren't going to have formatting. You're pre-creating lists for a drop-down menu. A URL, that's not going to use formatting. And an image data type, you don't have any images in the database yet, but if you have an image data type, the only formatting you can put in here, it's not Microsoft related like that web page you showed you, but you could put in, say, a number. Now, if you have an image data type and you use a number for the format, this is going to be a scaling factor where you say, I want the image to be 70% of the size of the width of the cell we're dropping that image into. So that's the only time you'd use the formatting on an image. So that's basic rundown of all the formatting types. And I'm just going to add a date time here to show that, since that's a little more complicated of a formatting strings you can apply. And we'll do the MMMMD. Alrighty. So let's go redo our project. And our line items are the same. You know, when we made this final weight visible, that only has an effect when we create the documents. But now you'll see we have a date time in the globals, our test date. Now note I'm typing it in this format. But you'll see the formatted output, that MMMMD, is going to output as November 16th. So I'll do a test and preview. All right, now in our preview, we've made the weight visible, and you see LBS added. That's our formatting. In the C, no charge for 0 value, and our date outputted in that MMMMD format. So that's a basic rundown of how to use custom formatting strings across all the data types and how it's going to change your raw data into a formatted value that gets output into the documents, and you'll see it in the data entry screens. So make use of that link in the manual to go see how you can use Microsoft's formatting strings if you have further questions. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and click subscribe to keep up on the latest proposal writing tips with Proposal Kit.